The unexplained disappearances. The silence of space was broken by an unexpected and terrifying event. Earth's fleets began disappearing. At first, it was just one ship. A small scouting vessel, the Vanguard, had gone missing while on a routine mission near Earth's orbit. The fleet had lost contact with the ship, but that was not entirely unusual. Communication sometimes failed, and ships were known to lose track of one another in the vastness of space. But then, the disappearances began to happen more often, and they were happening with much larger ships. The first disappearance had gone unnoticed, but when two more military ships, the Titan and the Invincible, vanished within a week, panic began to set in. Earth's military command center worked frantically to locate the missing fleets, but it was as if they had never existed. The ships didn't leave any wreckage, no remains to analyze. They simply vanished by the time the fourth ship disappeared. A deep sense of dread had settled over Earth. The public was told that the ships had likely encountered malfunctioning equipment or navigational errors. But deep inside, the leaders of Earth's forces knew something was terribly wrong. There was no way that so many ships could disappear without a trace. Something or someone was making them vanish. General Sarah Hayes, commander of Earth's fleet, stood in the command center, her mind racing. She stared at the large holographic map in front of her, her fingers tracing the path of the missing ships. The locations they had disappeared from didn't make sense. The ships had simply been there 1 minute, and then the next, nothing. "We have to find them," Hayes said, her voice steady, but with an edge of concern that she hadn't let anyone see. "Get me the reports on the missing fleets. All of them." Her officers immediately began pulling up data from Earth's military satellite systems, scanning for any sign of debris or distress signals, but nothing came up. It was as if the ships had melted into space. There were no signals, no wreckage, no signs of struggle. Just silence. "General," said Lieutenant Kellen, a young officer who had been monitoring the fleet's last known positions. "We'd been reviewing the routes and the areas they disappeared from. There's no pattern, no obvious reason why they would disappear. They were just gone." Hayes crossed her arms and stared at the map. She had been in command long enough to know that this wasn't a random series of accidents. Someone or something was behind these disappearances. But what? Send a team to investigate the Vanguard's last known location. Maybe it will. "Give us something," Hayes ordered, though she already knew it was a long shot. "We need answers, and we need them now." The crew worked quickly, preparing a mission to retrace the steps of the missing ships. Hayes paced the command center. As they worked, she had no real leads, no real explanation for what was happening. But she knew one thing for sure: the human race was in danger. Meanwhile, as the investigation began, the public's anxiety grew. News of the missing ships began to spread across the globe. People were confused and terrified. There were whispers of alien attacks, of some new threat no one could understand. Social media was filled with wild theories, but the government kept a tight lid on any details. The official statement from Earth's military was simple: "The fleets are missing, and we are investigating." But behind closed doors, Earth's leaders knew this was no ordinary mystery. The losses were too great, too sudden. Something was happening, and Earth was powerless to stop it. General Hayes leaned over the table in the command center, reviewing the mission data again. The plan was set. The fleet was going to investigate the Vanguard's last known location, but something inside her told her this wasn't going to be the end of it. She had faced many challenges during her career, But never something like this. The ships were vanishing without a trace, and there was no explanation for it. We'll get to the bottom of this, Hayes muttered to herself, though she wasn't sure she believed it. She was ready to put all of Earth's resources into the investigation. But as she sat there, a cold feeling crept into her chest. What if the fleets weren't lost by accident? What if Earth was being watched? What if someone or something was taking the ships? The thought weighed heavily on her mind. As Earth prepared for the mission to investigate the missing ships, no one could predict what they would uncover. But one thing was certain: Earth was no longer safe. Something was lurking just beyond their reach, something that had the power to make entire fleets disappear without a trace. And no one on Earth had the answers. Yet the command center worked late into the night, preparing the Vanguard's investigation team. Hayes couldn't shake the feeling that they were walking into a trap, that they were about to face something humanity was not ready for. The alien threat was always discussed in hushed whispers, a possibility many didn't believe in. But now, Earth was about to uncover a mystery that would challenge everything they thought they knew about space. And it all began with the unexplained. Disappearances of their fleets, * the search for answers, the investigation into the missing. Fleets began. The tension around Earth only grew. The world's governments were on edge, and every space station, every satellite, every system was working to find out what had happened. Despite Earth's best efforts, there were still no answers. It was as if the ships had simply vanished into thin air. General Sarah Hayes stood at the head of the command center, staring at the holographic display showing the vastness of space. Her fingers brushed over the map where the fleets had gone. Missing. Each fleet, from the smaller scouting ships to the massive warships, had disappeared without a single sign. No distress calls, no wreckage, nothing. Just silence. The media buzzed with reports of the mystery, and the world's fears began to grow. Speculation spread like wildfire. Was this the beginning of an alien invasion? Were they being attacked, but no one knew by who or what? Earth's military kept the details locked down, but the unease was spreading fast. People were afraid, and no one had the answers. What are we missing? Sarah muttered to herself, leaning over the table in front of her, her mind working. In overdrive, a voice interrupted her thoughts. "General, we have a lead." Sarah turned to see one of her officers, Lieutenant Reyes, entering with a data pad in hand. His face was pale, his expression serious. "What is it, Reyes?" He handed over the pad, and Sarah glanced at the display. It was a report on a peculiar anomaly in space and energy signature near the last known location of the Vanguard. The signature had appeared just after the fleet's disappearance, lingering in the area but disappearing before Earth's satellites could pinpoint its exact source. "It's not just a natural phenomenon," Reyes continued. "It's something else, something we've never seen before." Sarah felt her pulse quicken. She wasn't sure if this was the break they needed, but it was something. "Get a team together," she ordered. "We're going after it. Prepare the eclipse. We're going to investigate that anomaly." As the team prepared for the mission, Sarah could not shake the feeling that they were walking into a trap. Every time they got closer to uncovering the truth, it felt like the answers slipped further away. Was Earth being watched? Or was something much more dangerous waiting for them in the vast darkness of space? The alien presence, the eclipse launched from Earth's orbit, its sleek black hole cutting through the void of space. Sarah watched from the command deck as the stars streaked by. They were headed toward the last known position of the Vanguard, with the strange energy signature leading the way. The mission felt like a desperate gamble. If they could find out what happened to the missing fleets, they might be able to prevent the next one from vanishing. But Sarah couldn't shake the nagging feeling that they were walking into something far beyond their understanding. "General, we're approaching the coordinates," Lieutenant Reyes called out from his station. "Energy signature is still in. The area, it's fluctuating though. Hard to lock onto." "Keep trying," Sarah replied, her voice steady, though she could feel the weight of the moment. Her hand gripped the railing, her eyes scanning the vast emptiness of space outside. It was impossible to see anything, but she felt it a strange, growing sense of unease. Just then, the ship's alarm blared. A red light flashed across the deck, and the sound of distant engines reverberated through the hull. "General, we have incoming," a crew member shouted. "Something's approaching us. It's huge." The entire crew scrambled to their stations as the ship jolted. The anomaly they had been tracking was now within range, and whatever it was coming straight. For them, a flicker of motion in the distance caught Sarah's attention. A massive shadow loomed in the darkness, too big to be a ship, yet unmistakably a craft of some kind. It was unlike anything they had ever encountered, its design sharp and angular, glowing faintly with an eerie blue light. "What in the world is that?" Sarah whispered, her heart racing. "Prepare for evasive maneuvers," Reyes shouted. "They're charging up weapons." Before anyone could react, a blast of energy shot from the mysterious craft, striking the Eclipse with such force that the entire ship shuddered. Sparks flew across the control panel, and alarms blared louder. The hull groaned under the pressure, but the ship held together, shields holding at 50%. Another officer reported, voice tense. Sarah knew they had to act fast, return fire. Full power to weapons, now, she commanded. The Eclipse's weapons fired back, sending a barrage of energy bolts toward the mysterious craft. But the alien ship seemed to absorb the blasts, glowing brighter in response. The more they fought, the more the alien ship responded, unleashing powerful energy waves that scrambled their systems. "What are we up against?" Sarah shouted. It was clear now the fleets had been taken by whatever was out there, and now Earth's forces were facing the same unknown threat. The alien ship wasn't just attacking, they were being lured. It was a trap. The Eclipse was outmatched, its weapons ineffective against the overwhelming power of the alien ship. It was as if the mysterious entity controlling it was toying with them, slowly weakening their defenses. "All hands, prepare for emergency jump." "Get us out of here," Sarah ordered. But before they could initiate the jump, another blast hit. This time, it was stronger. The lights flickered, and Sarah felt the ship lurch as it was caught in the alien ship's energy field. The Eclipse shuddered again, and the ship's power systems began to fail. "We're not going anywhere," shouted Reyes. "They've locked onto us." In that moment, the reality of the situation sank in. They were not just dealing with a rogue force. They were facing an intelligent, powerful alien presence that had been watching Earth for some time. Whatever had caused the fleets to disappear was not some isolated incident, was part of something larger, and Earth had just scratched the surface. "We need to get back to Earth," Sarah said, her voice sharp. "We need reinforcements, now." But as the Eclipse continued to be pulled toward the alien ship, Sarah realized one terrifying fact. The real battle was only just beginning, and Earth might not be ready for what was coming. The alien encounter. Eclipse shuddered under the pressure of the alien energy field as it was drawn closer to the strange craft. Sarah's heart pounded as the reality of their situation set in. This wasn't just some random disappearance of ships. This was something far more calculated, and the alien entity they had encountered had no intention of letting them escape. "We've lost contact with Earth," Lieutenant Reyes called out, his voice tense. "The energy field is blocking all communications. We're cut off." The alien ship loomed before them, vast and imposing, its surface a slick, dark material that seemed to pulse with an otherworldly energy. The ship's appearance alone was enough to make the crew uneasy. Its jagged edges and sleek alien design didn't resemble anything they had ever seen, not even in the most advanced human designs. There were no windows, no visible markings, just an ominous black mass that hovered like a predator in space. "General, what do we do now?" Reyes asked, looking at her with wide eyes. Sarah took a deep breath, trying to steady her racing thoughts. This was it. This was the encounter they had feared. They were on the edge of something much bigger than they had ever prepared for. "I don't know," she admitted, her voice filled with a quiet determination. "But we're not going down without a fight." The alien craft began to emit a low hum, a sound that reverberated through the hull of the Eclipse. It wasn't an attack, at least, not yet. Instead, it seemed to be probing, testing. The ship moved closer, surrounding the Eclipse with an eerie glow. The hum grew louder, and for a moment, it felt as though the air itself was charged with electricity. Suddenly, the lights in the Eclipse flickered, and the room went dark. The crew stumbled as the ship lost power, leaving them in total darkness. "Shields are down," another officer shouted. "Life support is failing. We're losing power everywhere." The crew scrambled, trying to restore power, but it was no use. The alien craft had effectively disabled the Eclipse's systems with its energy field, leaving them defenseless. Panic began to spread, but Sarah held firm, determined not to let fear take control. "Reyes, get to the backup power systems," Sarah ordered, her voice unwavering. "We need to get our shields back online, now." Reyes quickly moved to the engineering console, but his face was pale. "General, we've got a bigger problem. There's something coming from their ship. It's not like anything we've ever encountered." Before Sarah could respond, the crew's worst fear became reality. The alien ship's surface seemed to shift and change, opening up in segments, revealing strange, glowing structures within. From the gaping openings, long, metallic tendrils emerged, slowly reaching toward the Eclipse. They moved with purpose, like fingers extending toward their prey. "They're boarding us," someone gasped, panic in their voice. Sarah's mind raced. If the aliens were boarding them, they wouldn't just be taking their ship, they would be taking everything humanity had worked for. Earth's defenses, its military might, all of it could be wiped out in an instant. The alien tendrils continued their advance, reaching closer to the Eclipse's hull. "We have to fight back," Sarah said, her voice barely above a whisper, yet full of resolve. "If we don't, we'll never make it back." The crew scrambled to arm themselves, but Sarah knew this wasn't going to be a fight they could win with weapons alone. The alien presence aboard their ship had been unlike anything they had encountered. It was clear now the alien force wasn't just interested in conquests, they had something much darker in mind. They weren't just invaders. They were predators. Suddenly, the lights flickered back to life, and the Eclipse's systems began to reboot. The alien tendrils paused for a moment, as if sensing the shift. But it was too late for them to stop their advance. The ship's internal doors slammed shut, and a loud, metallic sound echoed through the halls of the Eclipse. The alien force had breached the ship. "Get to the escape pods," Sarah shouted. Now, the crew ran to the escape pods, but as they made their way through the corridors, Sarah noticed something strange. The alien craft seemed to be shifting again, but this time, it wasn't just the exterior, was their very surroundings. Walls of the Eclipse seemed to change shape, stretching and contorting as if the ship itself was alive, responding to the alien presence. The entire ship was being altered, transformed into something unfamiliar and terrifying. "We're not just fighting an enemy," Sarah realized aloud. "We're fighting a force of nature. They're altering our ship. They're taking it." The crew scrambled to reach the pods, but as they moved, the alien presence grew stronger, faster. The metallic tendrils snaked through the corridors, and it wasn't long before the crew was completely surrounded. They had no choice but to fight desperately with everything they had. But it was clear now, the alien force wasn't just interested in destruction. They were preparing to take Earth's fleets, its technology, its people, everything. The Eclipse was being overrun, and Sarah knew they had one final chance, to escape or to fight the alien force head-on. She turned to her officers, determination flashing in her eyes. "We're not going to run. We're going to finish this," Sarah said, her voice filled with defiance. "We fight for Earth." As the alien tendrils closed in, the crew prepared for their final stand. The battle for Earth's survival had just begun. Humanity's last stand, the Eclipse groaned under the pressure of the alien force as the ship's walls twisted and warped, changing as if the very structure of the vessel was being redefined by some unseen power. Sarah's grip on the railing tightened. They were no longer in control. This was no longer their ship. It was an alien battlefield. "We've lost control of the ship," Lieutenant Reyes shouted, his voice full of panic. "They're taking over everything, every system, every command." Sarah knew they had only moments before the ship was completely consumed by the alien force. Her mind raced. Escape seemed impossible. The escape pods, their last hope, were useless now. The alien tendrils had already infiltrated the pod's access points, blocking the way. No one was going anywhere unless they fought their way out. "Prepare to engage," Sarah said, her voice calm but filled with determination. "We may not have control of the ship, but we still have our weapons." The crew rallied around her, their eyes hardening with resolve. They had come this far now. They would make their stand, even if it was their last. Weapons were drawn, and the crew set up barricades throughout the ship, determined to slow the alien advance. The ship's corridors were no longer familiar. Alien technology, pulsating with an eerie, bioluminescent glow, replaced the cold, human-made walls. The crew moved cautiously, knowing they were walking into a trap. "Stay close," Sarah ordered, as she led her team down a narrow, dimly lit hallway. The walls shifted and pulsated around them, the alien presence seeping deeper into the ship's fabric. "They want us to be scared, but we're not going to let them win." Suddenly, a piercing screech echoed through the halls. One of the alien tendrils shot out from a shadowed corner, its metallic surface gleaming in the dim light. It moved fast, faster than anything human technology could manage. The crew fired their weapons, but the tendrils twisted around the energy, blasts absorbing them like they were nothing. The alien ship was alive, adapting to their every move. "We need to hit them with something stronger," shouted Officer Davis, a weapons specialist. Sarah's eyes narrowed. "Reyes, any ideas?" Reyes's face was pale, his hands shaking slightly. If we can make it to the ship's core, there's a chance we can overload the energy matrix. It might cause an explosion that could take out this entire vessel. How long do we have? Sarah asked, her voice urgent. Minutes, maybe less, Reyes replied, glancing back toward the advancing alien tendrils. We won't make it without a fight. With no time to waste, Sarah made her decision. We're going to that core. If we're going to go down, we'll take them with us. The crew moved quickly, their weapons raised as they navigated the maze-like corridors. Every step was filled with tension as the alien presence grew stronger. The ship was alive with alien energy, and Sarah knew they were racing against time. The deeper they went, the more distorted the ship's architecture became. They passed through rooms that had once been used for storage, but were now transformed into grotesque alien chambers with pulsating walls. Stay sharp, Sarah ordered. We're almost there. Suddenly, the walls around them shuddered, and the ship's emergency lights flickered, bathing the corridor in an ominous red glow. The tendrils were everywhere now. They emerged from the walls, the floors, the ceiling. The alien force had completely taken over. The crew opened fire, but their shots did little to slow the advance. Cover me, Sarah shouted as she made a dash for the energy core's control room. Her crew followed, firing at the oncoming tendrils. But it was clear that the alien ship was now adapting. It was no longer just a vessel, it was a sentient force. The aliens were controlling it, and they weren't going to let Earth escape. As Sarah reached the control room, she slammed her fist onto the activation panel, and the core began to power up. Reyes was already working to overload the system. The energy matrix glowed brighter, pulsating like a heartbeat. We have to get out, Reyes yelled. The explosion will be catastrophic. But Sarah wasn't leaving yet. She looked at the map of the ship, now flickering on the wall. A piece of the puzzle clicked into place. The alien core, she whispered. It's not just power, it's their control center. If we destroy it, we can stop this invasion at its source. With no time left, Sarah made a bold decision. We won't just destroy the ship, we'll cripple their entire system. It's our only shot at stopping them. The crew hesitated for a brief moment, but then they nodded. They knew this was their last chance. Reyes, overcharge the core now. Sarah ordered. Reyes input the final sequence into the control panel. The core's energy surged to unbearable levels, its glow blinding as the ship began to tremble violently. Alien tendrils lashed out in a last-ditch effort to stop them, but it was too late. The energy released from the core was already building into an explosive force. Get back, shouted Sarah as the countdown began. The eclipse shook once again, and the crew ran as fast as they could toward the escape pods, knowing that the explosion would obliterate the alien ship and possibly everything around it. The ship's interior was a chaotic mess, but they fought their way through, ignoring the dangers closing in around them. With the core's energy levels maxed out, there was no turning back. The alien ship began to break apart as the energy wave rippled through its systems, causing it to collapse inward. Earth's last stand was nearly over, but the crew had made sure that the alien invasion would not go unanswered. The explosion that followed shook space itself, sending shockwaves across the galaxy. The eclipse's final battle had ended, but as the crew looked up at the remnants of the ship and the fractured sky, they knew that Earth's fight for survival had only just begun.